What a beautiful scene we have this Sunday afternoon. It is just afternoon, just after 1:15 midday, as we're ready to go for our second race of two this weekend for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman.com. 3.27 miles, 17 corners, a curving front straight, but really three pretty quick straights here if you count the uphill S's, because you're almost flat through there, with an action area in the braking area for turn 1, in the braking area for turn 12, well turn 11 and 12 really, at the Old Oak Tree turn, and then as you come up to the top of the roller coaster at turn 14, there's an opportunity there as well to make some passes, but you have to be absolutely sure and convinced that you can make the passes. Half-hearted lunges here just don't work, because, well, we don't talk about track limits here, because at the edge of the track there's a white line, and beyond that there's green, and greeny slippy, grey grippy. That's the way it is here. If you get onto the grass, you are in strife immediately. Hello everybody, it's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw in the Global Broadcast Centre as we're ready for our second run this weekend rather, in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. Good to have your company wherever you are around the world. It's a Sunday afternoon and this is our Super Sunday really, with plenty of action still to come from VIR, including, of course, the Michelin Pilot Challenge, our Sunday main. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. It was a very good start from Kai van Berlo in the white and green car. Frankly, he wasn't going to be challenged all day. Up the top of the roller coaster, always a difficult place to pass. Alan Metney just getting eased out of it there by Sean McAllister. Bill Smith getting into a little bit of trouble. 69 Porsche going around. Tom Collingwood there did recover. Bill was going to have an eventful day on Saturday, including clanging the barriers, which the photographer didn't quite make. But at the front of the field, the battle for second was turned right up to 11. Riley Dickinson in the grey, white and red car, and the multicoloured, multi-matic car of Kai van Berlo scrapped for pretty much the second half of the race. It was the Holcomb car that came through in 991. Alan Metney came through in Pro-Am and finishing the race as he started at the front. Kai van Berlo cutting the points lead to the second place car. A hard rear guard action, I suppose you're going to call it, Jeremy, for Sebastian Priaulx. I think that's possibly one of Seb's best races I've seen him run, and he wasn't actually racing forward, he was actually defending his position, and that's going to be important for the championship.
Well, it certainly is, and coming into this weekend, the lead was trimmed by 10 points yesterday. Just now, 34 points in between Seb Priaulx and Kai van Berlo. And yesterday, Priaulx finished second, but he did set the fastest lap of the race. That assures him not only of pole position today, because the grid for race 2 of the weekend is always set by either the second fastest race lap in qualifying or the best laps in the race. Well, qualifying was in the wet, so all the best times were set during the race. So an extra 5 points also for Seb Priaulx. This is his 8th pole of the season. 5 points for a pole. That is more than the advantage that he needed, if you like, to have that championship lead at the moment. Without those pole points, they'd be virtually tied together going into the final few races of the season, John.
No time for the full grid. It's Seb Priaulx and Kai van Berlo on the front row, 4 with Riley Dickinson and Maxwell Root behind for Hardpoint and Merspeed. Then JDX Racing's Parker Thompson and Eric Johansson, who had a great first race yesterday for MRS GT. 311 RS Lee Keane in the number 12 car is alongside Top Racing's TJ Fisher. Then it's Sean McAllister and Ryan Gates for the top 10. Efren Castro on pole alongside Alan Metney for Pro-Am, and Matt Holcomb is on pole for Pro-Am in the 991 category in the Mystery Machine coloured car with the red headlights. Take a breath, that might be the last one you get for the next 45 minutes. Lovely pace to the line by Seb Prior as he comes through, and he does exactly what Kai van Berlo did yesterday and got a great jump off the start down the inside. Riley Dickinson comes through into second, tried to do that yesterday, couldn't quite get that one done, but makes it into second place. Yes, confirmed second place. Oh, off for Van Berlo, and he's going to be hard in the barriers. That's the championship second place driver, and that's the end of the race for the Kelly Moss Road and Race number 3. A slight tap as he came out. Man, that's a big impact. The car stood up well, the four-way flashes come on automatically, and Kai van Berlo's championship charge may well have been as dented as the Armco barriers at turn number 3. That's a huge impact, and it has a big impact too, Jeremy Shaw, on the championship.
Yeah, massive. I mean, Kai van Berlo needed to lead the race. He did not make a good start there. He was hung out to dry by his teammates from Kelly Moss Road and Race, Seb Prior at the start. He was bundled down to 3rd position by Riley Dickinson at the first corner, and also up in there with Parker Thompson and Max Root trying to get past him as well. I didn't see who that contact was with Kai van Berlo, but he came off a very poor second best there, and that's a lot of damage to that car. And I think he can pretty much kiss goodbye to his championship aspirations now. It's a great shame for this very, very talented young Dutchman. He had a dismal weekend at Indianapolis last time out. There were 3 races there: an ABS failure in the first race, an engine failure in the second. Third race, he started from the back and came all the way through to 3rd position, which was a brilliant run. And then with the win yesterday, he was thinking his championship was back on track again, but with this DNF today, that's going to be a big hit. And contact there with Parker Thompson. They were battling away for that position. Unfortunately, it's Kai van Berlo who'd made that poor start. He'd lost the position at the start, and he tries to kind of cut across here, and he just kind of cuts across the nose of Parker Thompson. I don't think there's any blame there to anybody, just sort of one of those things that happens, particularly on the first lap, John, when the tyres are still cold.
Certainly no blame attached to Parker Thompson there. Kai van Berlo will be disappointed, he might be annoyed. His body language tells me he's not a happy driver at the moment. That car is not going anywhere. He wants to stay out and go to the edge of the track and wave his hands at somebody. He's telling Parker Thompson that you're number 1 with me, I think, at the moment. But that's not Parker Thompson. I've got to tell you that right now. And Kai van Berlo's not done himself any favours there. I've been impressed with his driving this year, but that kind of attitude, I'm afraid, is not good, and that will not go down well with Porsche. He is looking for a Porsche drive, junior drive, and that's not what they want to see from their young drivers. If anything, Jeremy, he's moved across on Thompson there rather than the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely right. Parker Thompson was just taking the racing line between 1 and 2 and 3 there, and Kai van Berlo, he was anxious not to lose another position. And look, you can understand the kid's frustration.
Yes.
He's 20 years of age, massive opportunity in this championship. He's grasped it with both hands. You know, he's not only racing in North America for the first time, also studying over here, studying business administration at Miami University. So he's a hugely talented young man, and you can certainly understand the frustration there. But you know, he's going to look back at that and think, you know, that's kind of one of those things. But for me, no blame there for Parker Thompson, and it's just one of those unfortunate things that's going to happen on the first lap of the race.
Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Global Broadcast Centre. It is the end of the season. There are 3 more races at the end of this. That incident will be looked at. It is in fact already under review as the start is. That is what I would call standard operational procedure from IMSA. But I've got to say, it was just a bad start from Van Berlo, and he's trying to get the best line into NASCAR corner, turn 3, and he goes across to his right. Now, look, in his defence, he sits on the left-hand side of the car, so anything on his right rear quarter panel is really difficult to see. At the very worst, I call that a racing incident. If you are going to apportion any blame, I think it's got to go to Van Berlo for moving across the front of the number 9 car of JDX Racing and Parker Thompson. He is in 3rd in the championship at the moment, and this could give him the chance to go to 2nd with the issues and the lack of points being scored by Kai Van Berlo. There's a tiny little bit of scuffage on the front. It all came down to the start. Sebastian Priaulx did what Kai Van Berlo did yesterday and got a brilliant start. Riley Dickinson up the inside. That will have irked Van Berlo, I'm sure. And Thompson was right there. He was already up alongside, and then all the way, he's come across 2 lanes. Van Berlo's come across from 2 lanes, and Parker Thompson has not moved his line. You can't put that on the Canadian at all there, Jeremy.
No, I completely agree with you. But I certainly feel for Kai Van Berlo. He's been brilliant this season. 6 wins on the season. The next nearest tally is 3 for Sebastian Priaulx, and yet still he didn't. He was still 34 points behind in the championship coming to this weekend, purely down to those extra points for pole position. Not helped, of course, by the 2 DNFs or poor finishes at Indianapolis last time out, but still it's been a great season for Kai, and he's got a big future ahead of him. And even if he doesn't win the championship, he's certainly going to be part of the conversation at Porsche Motorsport moving forward, because clearly he's a young man with a big future ahead of him. In terms of championship points, Parker Thompson was 29 points behind Kai Van Berlo coming into this race, so he will not be able to move ahead of Van Berlo going into the final weekend of the season. But there are 3 races that will take place at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta next month.
That is absolutely extraordinary, and that gives Sebastian Priaulx, who quite frankly looked out of sorts in the Saturday race here, a really big advantage going into Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. So behind the safety car, it's going to take a wee while because we've got a damaged arm core barrier. Race control have taken a look. They've seen all of the views that we have and more. I'm absolutely certain, but they have come to the decision that no further action needs to be taken for that collision. It's a racing incident. It's almost the very definition of a racing incident. The sad sight of the number 3 car going back to the pits on the back of a flatbed. It was a triple header last time out at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Porsche Sports Car Together event was going on, a magnificent event. Parker Thompson had a great weekend, and Jeremy, as you said, it was also a good weekend for the Multimatic car, at least in race 1. Then Riley Dickinson and Seb coming together, Parker Thompson coming through in race 2. But after a real problem for Kai Van Berlo, he really came back and showed his mettle and fought back to third position. But a good points haul for Sebastian Priaulx over the weekend on possibly the most famous raceway in North America. And uncharacteristic technical problems for Kelly Moss Road and Race in the 992 Cup car for Kai Van Berlo. ABS and then an engine change, which put him to the back, and then he had to fight the way through. But that's given, and now, with what we've just seen, has absolutely underlined the opportunity for the Channel Islander, Sebastian Priaulx, to take a good points lead into the last 3 rounds of the season.
Yeah, that's right. The 2 wins together with a top 10 finish for Seb Priaulx, but crucially also 3 pole positions. That was 15 points right there. You only get 25 for a win, so that put him, extended his lead pretty substantially over Kai van Berlo. And it's been a great season. He's been super fast, Priaulx. He's been beaten more often than not than by Kai van Berlo. He's got those pole positions. He has some great racecraft as well. And apart from that spin at Indianapolis, it was a brilliant weekend for Sebastian Priaulx.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That single qualifying session at Indianapolis, first, second and third best times set your qualifying position for the first, second and third races. And if you improved, of course, in the race, in the second race, then first race made you better starting position for second race made you better for third. Very few, if anybody, did. So Sebastian Priaulx stringing together a clutch of fast laps there to put him on pole. And not only the starting position, but as Jeremy's mentioned, those additional points, very, very important indeed, and could be, well, it could be what decides the championship with 3 more rounds to go at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. 34 minutes to go. We're under full course caution at VIR for Porsche Carrera Cup 2021, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. Well, the safety car lights are still on at the moment, Jeremy, and this is going to give everybody a chance to just take a breath after what was quite exciting for us. And if it was exciting for us in the Global Broadcast Centre, one can only imagine what it was like behind the wheel.
Yeah, true. But it didn't last long, did it? We're going to get plenty of time to go racing again. The lights are still on the safety car there, so still that Kai van Berlo's car has not yet been removed, and or any changes necessary to the barrier down there. That barrier was moved a little bit since the last time we were here. They've extended a barrier because that section of track where Van Berlo crashed, on the other side of that fence of the barrier is the run toward turn 1, which is one of the fastest parts of the racetrack. So there's barriers on both sides there, and there's just it's a fairly wide strip of grass in between them, but you've still got to have a barrier there. So that's what Van Berlo hit, and it's caused a lot of damage to the car, certainly, and hopefully it hasn't caused too much damage to the barriers as well, because that was a really hard hit.
So the safety car, the Porsche safety car, is out at the moment because of an incident on turn 3. That run actually started around about turn 2.5, didn't it? Seb Priaulx gets a great start from pole position, defends the inside. Riley Dickinson up into second place for team Hardpoint, and then behind him is where the incident occurs. Kai van Berlo, who'd been on the front row and dropped 1 position and hadn't had a great start, to be honest, was not on the racing line and cut across to the right hand side, across the nose of Parker Thompson in the JDX Racing Porsche, and that was enough to send him onto the grass. The grass is slippy, and at that point, frankly, he was a passenger, and heavy contact into the Armco. I'm afraid his response to the cars coming round the next time was not what Porsche expect of a young driver. I understand his frustration, but I think he'll feel, well, I hope that when he looks back at the replays that he'll see that in a different light and might want to have a word with Parker Thompson and apologise for his actions there. No blame whatsoever on Parker Thompson and race control thinks exactly the same. We're going to go back to green flag racing next time around. There'll be just around about 28.5 minutes to go by the time we get back to the start-finish line. So it's Seb Priaulx that will restart in the lead, Jeremy. It's a different situation from the green flag because everybody is line astern, not side by side.
That's right, and he got a great jump at the initial start of the race there. His partner, his teammate on the outside, Cayman Burlow, just didn't. But this time around, Riley Dickinson. For Riley Dickinson, it would be the same at the start because he was in third position on the starting lineup, so right behind Seb Priaulx coming up to the green flag. So he'll be looking to. He made a great initial start to the race because that's what enabled him to get alongside and past Cayman Burlow at the first corner. So he'll remain as close as he can to Priaulx coming off the final corner, hog pen, and try and perhaps get a run onto the run towards turn one. But it was a really good first lap there for Riley Dickinson. A great run yesterday too. He was very much in. He pushed Sebastian Priaulx very, very hard for that second place, pretty much all the way through that 45-minute race yesterday.
It's Jeremy Shaw. I'm John Hindhaugh. We will see the Porsche safety car disappear, foot down, and now Seb Priaulx from Kelly Moss Road and Race has the field under his control as he comes to the top of the hill at turn 14. Top of the roller coaster, well named, as the track drops away through 15 and 16 and into what is a very tricky right-hander at turn 17. And Seb will want to keep the pace down as much as he can. The acceleration zone starts now, and he needs to be back on the throttle. He is back on the throttle now, but Riley Dickinson's gone with him. Seb rather telegraphed that, because in the driver briefing notes there is a very small amount of ground to go, and here comes Dickinson. He's going to have to go to the left-hand side, round the outside into turn one. Thompson in third position is under pressure as well from Maxwell Root, but Seb Priaulx holds on. Oh, great cutback by Thompson in the red and white car, and he's side by side with Dickinson coming to turn three, NASCAR corner. He'll have to back out of it though, and as they were at the restart, but my goodness, there was a lot of shuffling around going on there, Jeremy, in the first couple of corners.
Great stuff, tremendous. That's good clean racing there. They gave each other plenty of room there, unlike at the start of the race, and you could see that two cars can go side by side from two there and into three. Parker Thompson lost the opportunity to get back past Dickinson, but what a great restart that was for Dickinson. He's giving Seb Priaulx all he can handle right now as they head up the hill and toward the Oak Tree corner.
Down through the gearbox, just a little bit of moisture at the far end of the circuit. If it is going to rain, that's where it generally comes from, but it's not on the circuit at the moment. Everybody on slick Michelin Pilot Cup Sports tyres. Down the back straight, identical cars, but how are they set up? Sebastian Priaulx steers to drivers right. That lets him defend at the top of the hill, and he has to defend as Dickinson goes alongside him and gets right alongside him for a moment, but can't make it stick down. That was really nice driving by Priaulx. We saw yesterday, Jeremy, an exemplary display of defensive driving by Seb Priaulx. Clear to me that the setup of the car wasn't quite how the other drivers around him had, and he, for around about half an hour, he was on the defensive, and he's absolutely the same now. He stayed to the right going up to the top of the hill at the top of the roller coaster, which makes it nigh on impossible for a challenger to come round the outside. Great driving.
Great driving by both of those two. I mean, hats off to Riley Dickinson for trying to brave it around the outside of that corner at the top of the hill there. That's a really, really brave move. Sebastian Priaulx, he's going to be sensible now at this stage. He knows he's got a handy championship lead coming to this race. He can't afford to have a DNF here. He doesn't want to have a DNF because he wants to maximise his point situation. Best way to do that, of course, is to stay on the road and win the race. But what he doesn't want to do is push the envelope too hard, get in the incident with Riley Dickinson and take himself out of this race. So that was a good, respectful drive there. He'd left Dickinson room on the outside line, top of the hill, which sometimes drivers do not do. And so really, really good driving from both of these two leaders, but it is still Seb Priaulx who leads the race.
I'm sure that Andy and Joanne, Seb's parents, will be watching and listening at the moment. Same situation again and same tactic by Sebastian. He stays to the right hand side. That means that Riley Dickinson has got to find the longer way round through the first substantive part of the roller coaster. There's a slight left there to start that sequence of corners, but it's the right that's important, because if you can get to the inside of the right hand turn there, you're going to control the downhill through 15 and 16 and therefore into the hog pen at 17 and onto the front straight. And we've really seen that Sebastian Priaulx has been able to work out where to put his car that disadvantages the driver behind him, and not in an unfair way. Basically, he puts the car exactly where his competitor wants it not to be, and that, Jeremy, is the essence of holding on to your position. He's not weaving around. He's going for that, particularly on the back straight. He's going for that right hand side of the track very, very early indeed.
Yeah, great racing between these two, and they're very, very closely matched. Last time around, it was Riley Dickinson who had fractionally the quicker lap, a 147.982, the fastest lap in yesterday's race, a 47.0. So they're not up to the pace of these cars have, but already they're beginning to edge away just a little bit from Parker Thompson in third place.
Yeah, great driving.
Rather back down the order, by the way. Efren Castro leads in the Pro-Am class. John, he's running in the 11th position. He started on the pole. He set the fastest lap of the class yesterday in the race. And in 991, Matt Holcomb also leads that category. Again, the championship leader in 991 is Matt Holcomb in car number 55 for Goldcrest Motorsports.
Yeah, that is the Mystery Machine car, of course, with Scooby-Doo on the front end of that car. Easy to spot. Efren Castro highlight a yellow car with, at the moment, the number 27 Kelly Moss Road and Race Sebastian Carrazzo, one of the junior drivers in 992, right up his tailpipes. He'll have a look down into turn one. Those cars not battling for position, but the next car back, as Jeremy described, the GT Silver iFly Kelly Moss racing car is in that battle for Pro-Am, and that is Alan Metney, who leads the championship at the moment, extended his championship lead in the first race here at VIR yesterday. Half distance of the second round of the weekend of Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. Good to have your company wherever you are around the world. And what a set of races we've had so far, and again spins, and around the 16, that's the MRS GT racing car, that's the Dunn car. Who else is involved there, Jeremy? Is that another one of the MRS cars? I think it might be. So
I don't think so. Eric Johansson is up in 5th position in the other one. I don't think it was him.
No,
yes.
It was a similar colour scheme. It's Wright Motors.
John Goetz.
It's John Goetz. I just saw the silver there and thought, heavens above, tell me it's not the two MRS cars. There is the 16 of Dunn climbing S's. He's got back going, so they've both got pointing back in the right direction again. Possibly contact between those two. They were quite well split, actually. They had Top Racing's 42 and Tom Collingwood for BGP in between them, so not sure if those two would have been able to come together. It might have been a sympathetic spin in terms of what was going on ahead for the MRS number 16 car. Johansson into the pit lane, so something has happened for the other MRS GT racing car. I may have cursed them. Oh my goodness me. And having been running right at the sharp end, Jeremy, that car is in the pit lane. What has happened to Eric Johansson? Oh, well, was that the 69 car of Tom Collingwood of BGB, who's lost his front undersplitter? I think it was. Yes, it was. The dark purple or black car, depending on how the light shines on it. Well, he lost a splitter yesterday when he fell off at turn 1 and tried very hard to reconnect it. So maybe the fixings have not been quite done properly today. He's run over it himself, and now he's in real trouble, because that will hurt the front end of his car. The piece of rubber that is so essential to front turning is on the way up to the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Doesn't look much, but it makes a huge difference, Jeremy.
Yeah, and not something you want to run over either, because that could cause damage to the cars. It's not on the preferred racing line, but it certainly isn't where you would like it on a racetrack. We'll have to see whether we're going to go full course caution for that. And poor Eric Johansson, what a shame for him. It was a drive-through penalty for that car number 14. He was running really impressively in the 5th position for the 24-year-old from Växjö in Sweden. He was improper lane change at the start of the race. What he was pinged for. We see that you've got to keep in your column at the start of the race, which is difficult here because there's 2 kinks in the straight before you get to the start-finish line. So it's very easy to kind of wander over into the other lane. So most unfortunate for Eric Johansson. That's going to drop him way, way, way down the order. Meanwhile, Sebastian Priaulx setting a couple of fastest laps of the race, including a new record, faster than his time yesterday, a 46.89 on lap 9. He's now, the next lap was only a tenth of a second slower, but still he's not pulling away much from Riley Dickinson, but the gap certainly is, what now, 4 or 5 car lengths, as opposed to 1 or 2 over the first few laps.
Yeah, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because Priaulx was really having to defend earlier on from Riley Dickinson. He's not having to do that now. Is he just bringing his Michelin tyres up to temperature and pressure gently? Question mark, not sure. The 2 311 RS Motorsports, Lee Keane and Ryan Gates, have Sean McAllister between them as they go down the back straight and into the top of the hill at the roller coaster. The Shell Top number 2 JTX racing car then sits in 7th position between the 2 red 311 cars, which look remarkably stock. If they had the road car wing on, really, you would think that was a straight stock machine.
Yeah.
Well, actually, not quite, because they've got the slots in the rear wings for the rear brake ducts, which are the turbo bodies, which the 911 GT3 doesn't have in the road car. But my goodness me, they do look great in that just basic red livery, Jeremy.
Yeah, and they're running in 6th and 8th positions at the moment. Both of them scored their best results of the season in Indianapolis last time. Had a 2nd for Lee Keane, a 4th for Ryan Gates as a result of various incidents during that race. But last time around, a bit of damage to the back of Lee Keane's car. But they're running. Ryan Gates was actually a little bit quicker than his vastly more experienced teammate Lee Keane. Steamin' Lehman, they call him. And he's steaming along there in the 6th position. And Ryan Gates, he's got that car of Sean McAllister in between them, but holding pace, and right behind them too is Dylan Murray in the BGB Motorsports car number 38, so that's a good 4-car battle for 6th, 6th, 7th and 8th. 6th, 6th, 7th and 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th even.
I knew what you meant, Jeremy. It's just too exciting, it really is. Efren Castro leads for Team Hardpoint. He's just on the edge of the top 10 at 10 in Pro-Am for the 992 category. And Matt Holcomb still leads 991 by only 0.2 of a second from the Irish Mike's Racing number 95 car. That is right up his rear spoiler at the moment. And to be fair, Matt Holcomb's had a pretty decent couple of events and certainly was impressive here yesterday. but he's got some competition here in what is effectively the grandfather's class, I suppose. Conor Flynn right up his tailpipes at the moment, going down towards the final corner. The Mystery Machine, I know it kind of looks like the Porsche Hickey car, but it really is Scooby-Doo's Mystery Machine colours. Matt Holcomb driving that car, and if you look carefully you'll see Scooby-Doo on the front of that car and Mystery Machine on the side. Magnificent stuff. Also the red mirrors and the red headlight covers, as well as the red numbers, tell you that that's a 991 category. And right up behind him, Jeremy, Conor Flynn, the man from Florida, from Jacksonville, for Irish Mike's Racing, trying to steal away that top position in the 991 class.
That's right, and Irish Mike's, that's Mike Flynn, that's Conor's father, and he's originally from Ireland. Conor Flynn, yeah, okay, Ireland, right. But Conor Flynn, 26 years of age. I think he was pretty sure he was born in Florida, so he's a full-blown American, and he's just joined this series only a couple of rounds ago. He's done quite a lot of racing over the years in all sorts of different cars, but he's talented, and he's really pushing the championship leader, Matt Holcomb, here for all he is worth. Number 55 car Holcomb leads, but Conor Flynn right there in second position. And Conor too, he had his best result at Indianapolis last time, had a second place finish in the class, and he wants that first win.
Down the back straight, the slightly older version, the 991 Gen 2 GT3, still with the flat 6 4 litre, over 500 horsepower, just over 500 horsepower, but a slightly different body style, slightly different rear wing, but that very tidy rear engine cover on the 991 Gen 2s, which I do think is one of the best looking back ends of a Porsche GT3 that we've ever seen. Very aerodynamic, those cars, very close to the street cars as well. Running on 18-inch rims, as the front of the class do, with the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup tyres, whereas of course the street cars for 992 are on 20s and 21s nowadays. Look great, sound great, nothing better than a flat 6 being revved within an inch of its life. Rev up to nearly 9,000 revs in race car spec. Big sideways moment for Lee Keane. For Ryan Gates, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, Jeremy, in the number 11. And he's got Dylan Murray right behind him now, and that's all the invitation that Dylan Murray needed. A little bit of sideways movement, and you know the car ahead of you is struggling with 12 and a half minutes to go for a wee bit of grip. And the bright highlight of green 38 looks down the inside. That was very tight indeed for PGP Motorsports driver. He's backed out of it, thank goodness, Jeremy. Otherwise we'd have been taking bits of Porsche home in black plastic bin bags.
Yeah, and Dylan Murray there, he thought about lunging down the inside, and at the last possible second decided that probably wasn't a very good idea, because he was definitely going to tip the number 11 car into a spin. So Ryan did a great job to hold his nerve and his line and the position as well, and Dylan did a super job to maintain control. Having made that late decision to back out of it, the car went sideways on him. He lost a bit of ground, but he lives to fight another day. And just a little bit further back is that battle still between Efren Castro, who leads in Pro-Am, Sebastian Carrazzo right with him. He's all over the tail of the number 65 car, and right behind them too is the second Pro-Am car. That's Alan Metney, the clear championship leader. He missed one of the races at Indianapolis because of a prior commitment on the other side of the country, but he came back yesterday and had another win. That was his 8th win of the season in the Pro-Am class, but currently that number 99 car for Alan Metney is running in second position in the class, with Sebastian Carrazzo in between himself and the class leader Efren Castro.
Yeah, Alan Metney was a part of a triple header weekend in 3 different... Oh, big spin! Big spin. That was Dylan Murray that's got around, and that was right in front of the battle that we were looking at there, and somehow everybody managed to avoid him over the brow of the hill at turn 10 at the South Bend, and Murray facing the wrong direction. Oh, that he would have seen everything in front of him. That is a very scary moment for Dylan Murray. And somehow that three-way battle managed to miss him. Castro, Carrazzo and Metni. Wow. And now Bill Smith with a new rear clip on that car after hitting the barriers yesterday at NASCAR Turn 3. Has had a spin as well. He's been onto the grass, but he's got it pointing in the right direction. That's pretty much at the same part of the circuit. Once you get off at turn 10, Jeremy, it's very slippery.
It is. So a spin for him. That'll put Matt Halcombe and Conor Flynn up one more position in the overall rankings. It won't affect them because they still battle for lead, and Bill Smith is running in the Pro-Am class of one of the 992 cars. But Efren Castro continues to lead in Pro-Am. He's got Sebastian Carrazzo as a little bit of buffer between himself and Alan Metni, who was remarkably, in the first practice session of the weekend, Alan Metni, I think, was 5th fastest overall. Pretty impressive for a Pro-Am driver. And somebody really only started racing, 3 or 4 years ago. Here's a look to the outside for the lead in 991. Conor Flynn not able to make it as Matt Holcomb defended that inside line pretty stoutly.
Coming down into turn 3, and the Irish Mike's black car with the, of course it has to have a bit of Irish green on it. Can't quite get the overlap. Going through turn 5 now and heading through the snake and to the climbing S's. Those two cars having a great battle. Both of them will be enjoying this. Very fair and respectful racing. The point I was trying to make about Alan Metni was he was part of the triple header IMSA weekend when we had Porsche Carrera Cup North America presented by Visit Cayman Islands at Indianapolis for the Porsche Sports Car Together Festival. We also had IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and some of the other series at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and we had IMSA racing at Road America as well. And Alan Metni was over on the west coast and then came back to do the Sunday races at Indianapolis. Meantime, Carrazzo has a look down the inside and does get past Efren Castro. Now that's a pass for position and will push Sebastian Carrazzo into 9th. It doesn't impact his class position. They're all driving 992s. Oh, and there's been a coming together, and that is the number 88 of Hutton McKenna and Wright Motorsports. That car, the Southern California Porsche dealer, has gone around the white and yellow. Wow, that just takes me back so long into ALMS racing and the Flying Lizards, and Porsche lost it himself at turn 1, and looked like Dylan Murray again, Jeremy, had to avoid that. Yeah, it's been an eventful day. Dylan Murray resumed right behind Hutton McKenna, was trying to track him down, but he's able to avoid that, and McKenna gets going again. This is his first season of professional racing. He's done some PCA racing in the past from Newport Beach in California. Those same colours, of course, run very successfully by his father, and in IMSA competition as well. That car's the colours of that car, McKenna Porsche Southern California dealer, won several races in the past. Now that was a pass on the grass just a few moments ago, and that was Efren Castro trying to defend, but Alan Metni has now got ahead and is now leading the Pro-Am category for the 992s. I was about to say that Sebastian Carrazzo, who went through, Carrazzo is in the same type of car. There's no difference in the cars between 992 Pro and 992 Pro-Am this year, so it's all down to driver talent. The ultimate performance potential is exactly the same. So now we've got a battle royale down at turn 1 between the GT Silver i5 Kelly Moss car, and now in second place the team Hardpoint, the black and highlighter yellow car. Wow, it's all changing, isn't it? And I'm not sure. Ryan Gates must have made a mistake, I think, earlier on that lap to bring himself back into the clutches of those two, and poor Efren Castro was kind of caught off guard there, I think, and it enabled an opportunistic Alan Metni to make that move for the class lead. So it's Metni who leads again now
becoming used to this during the season. He's been a star performer and moving his way up the order as well. Now just into the top 10 overall. Meanwhile, up at the front, Sebastian Priaulx, he'd extended his lead out to over a second over Riley Dickinson, but on the last lap, Dickinson was a little bit quicker. He's closed in again. Here we are now, this battle for the lead. Curb hopping there as he come down the hill into Hogpen is Riley Dickinson, but Seb Priaulx, with only 5 minutes and a bit remaining in this race, I think he's got pretty much under control right now, perhaps.
Just as Jeremy says, under 5.5 minutes. The gap is just under a second at the start-finish line. Riley Dickinson trying to keep the pressure on the multicoloured Kelly Moss Road and race Sebastian Priaulx, number 15. Well, after a epic defensive battle for Seb yesterday, Jeremy, to take a win here and his main championship rival score, well, last place points, 23rd place points in class. It's still just a little bit of precipitation as they go up the climbing S's towards the south end of the circuit. I think Sebastian would have taken that after yesterday. He would have taken that all day today.
Yeah, fair comment. You know, he's done a super job today. Of course, he was assisted enormously by the fact his teammate was off the road at the first on the first lap, but he's run a really good pace. He has set the fastest lap of the race as well, a new lap record for Seb Priaulx. So it's looking, he's trying to get a perfect day. Pole position, win, and fastest race lap. You don't get any points for the fastest race lap, but it's all good credibility, isn't it? Ooh, he's got going to be held up here coming down the hill by a couple of slower cars though.
Yeah, and this is the danger, isn't it, as he comes onto the start-finish line, and those 991 cars ahead of him, that's the number 97 of Irish Mike's Racing that's ahead of him, and Craig Conway that he's got to get by the green and black car into turn 1. Ahead of him, I think it's Grady Willingham, isn't it? Yes, it is, for Goldcrest Motorsport. But they've managed to deal with them. But what that has done is meant that 1 second has disappeared. It's not even a car's length. Now, Hutton McKenna's gone round, and he's in a very dangerous position on the climb up to turn 10. Really doesn't want to be going forward. He's got the car. Oh no, sorry, that I realise where he is now. He's pointing completely in the wrong direction at turn 10, and Bill Smith was in amongst that as well with a bright orange car. He goes around him, but just over the brow. That's a horrible place to go around and be facing the traffic. Staying on the grass at the moment for young Hutton McKenna, but he has got back onto the track. 2.5 minutes to go, Jeremy.
Yeah, so it'll be, it won't be, I don't think, white flag this time. I think it'll probably be 2 laps to go. No, it's going to be close actually. We'll have to wait and see as they're coming up the hill here into turn 14. But Seb Priaulx, he's kind of responded here to that challenge. He was held up, cost him quite a bit of ground, cost him about a second with that slower car on the previous lap. But 1:59 to go. Yeah, I think it won't be white flag quite this time around. It'll be 2 laps to go now for Seb Priaulx.
Across the line now, and he stretched that lead to about half a second. It was literally nothing at all. It's a couple of cars lengths at the moment as he goes through turn 1. Sebastian, supported by Multimatic, the team currently behind the Mazda DPI program, and who have built the LMDH chassis for Audi and Porsche for the 2023 prototype class. Huge company, 1,600 employees. Larry Holt, the man behind that, Meantime, Carrazzo in the 27 and Ryan Gates having a scrap. This is for 8th and 9th position in Pro. And Carrazzo, having been freed from sitting behind Efren Castro, has charged up the road and made up a couple of positions, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the number 11, Ryan Gates, has made a little mistake there, because that did seem that Carrazzo caught him and passed him very, very quickly after he got past Efren Castro a couple or 3 laps ago. White flag this time around.
Yeah, what a lap this has been for Seb Priaulx. He's pulled out a pretty substantial margin now over Riley Dickinson. He comes out of the last corner. He will see the white flag this time around, and he's stretched the lead at the perfect moment as the white flag flies across the line. Goes Seb Priaulx. That last lap was a 147.2. Pulled out nearly a second on Riley Dickinson just when it mattered.
That's impressive, Jeremy, isn't it? You know, we talk about being able to be quick, able to pace yourself, but pulling out that lap when it was required. Very impressive. Main time in the 991 class at the Oak Tree turn, and yet to start their final lap. They've still got another lap to go after this one, and it's still Matt Holcomb, but barely ahead of the number 97 Irish Mike's car, isn't it, of Craig Conway. Oh, and a spin for Metney. Metney's gone around at turn 1 on the final lap, and there goes the lead of 992 Pro-Am. Castro's gone through. Now, where's Tim Pappas? He's a long way back. I think that'll be all right. That was a mistake. Oh, Alan, what were you doing? You didn't need to pass the number 11 of Ryan Gates. Absolutely awesome avoidance by Efren Castro in the team hardpoint car. He didn't need to make that pass to get the 9th overall, although it did seem as though Ryan Gates was losing pace. But he's given up the top step of the podium in his class.
But he's a racer, John. He just went for it. I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Good point.
Last corner for Seb Priaulx.
Multimatic DSSV sponsored. That's the very clever suspension system from Multimatic. The multicoloured car is a winner. Second race of the weekend at VIR, and Seb Priaulx increases his championship lead substantially. Meanwhile, further down the field, it's going to be a battle to the line. Lee Keane will just about grab 6th position from Sean McAllister. Yes, he does. That is JDX from 311 RS from JDX. And in the Pro-Am category, Metney has spun away a victory. Here comes Efren Castro to win that class in 10th position overall. And the 991 category, Matt Holcomb has about a half of a lap to go. One last chance maybe for Craig Conway. Turn 17 coming up. Will there be a dive down the inside here from the two 991 runners? Goldcrest versus Irish Mike's Racing. Now the drag to the line. The Mystery Machine coloured 55 car is going to take it. Matt Holcomb makes it a delightful double this weekend. Seb Priaulx wins it for Kelly Moss Road and Race. Hardpoint second with Riley Dickinson and Parker Thompson for JDX third at the front of the field. And your class winners are Efren Castro in Pro-Am and Matt Holcomb in Pro-Am 991. And Jeremy Shaw, those unofficial results will give these unofficial point standings with 3 races to go at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Huge day for Seb Priaulx, his 4th win of the season, 286 points now unofficially, 222 Kai van Berlo. He will not add to his tally today. Parker Thompson will close in on 210 in 3rd position. And also Seb Priaulx needs now in the final weekend at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta will be 3 kind of solid finishes and the championship will be his. In the other 2 classes, Metni threw away the win there, but another win for Efri Castro, his 4th of the season in Pro-Am. Metni recovered to finish in 2nd place, so he only loses 5 points. Still has a very handy margin there of 39 points going into the final weekend of the season. And Matt Holcomb, with that win again today, almost wraps up the championship. I think actually that will wrap up the championship in Pro-Am 991 for Matt Holcomb. That is his 7th win of the season, a weekend sweep for the for Matt Holcomb, who is from Dallas, Georgia.
Yeah, the 55 cars had a good weekend, but no one has had a better one as far as the championship is concerned than Seb Priaulx. Brilliant race yesterday. Whilst he was defending for 2nd, he sees his championship rival Kai van Berlo hit the Armcore hard at turn 2, lap 1, and he'll take a very handy lead to the final 3 races of the season. It's the 2021 season decider for Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands. We'll join you at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. See you then.